So on the ordering of Pythagorean triples, what ordering you used? Ascending order means, like for example, I will give you, let me share. So ascending, so you can form, like 3, 4, 5 is one Pythagorean triple. Within them, you can order by their side. And so when you order them by their side, the third will be all the time what? The third one, this one, when we order hypotenuse, yeah. So this will always be hypotenuse because hypotenuse is the largest. So when you order them, then hypotenuse will be the largest. And so I said you have to do so you have to, so I will cover some concepts related to loops today. Perhaps it will make it this problem easy. But using goto and label also you can do. And so the point I wanted to mention is this 435. This is also the same tuple. You should not print it. Okay. Are you with me here? 345 and 435. They are same Pythagorean triplets. So you should not print it twice. So if you think in that fashion, then what happens is if you keep printing, what is is this the first Pythagorean triplet? 3, 4, 5. What is the next one? Can someone help me out? 5, 12, 6, 8, 10, no? Okay. 6, 8, 10. So the hypotenuse, the next biggest hypotenuse we get is 10, 6, 8, 10. Nice. So, and don't list again, you should not list 8, 6, 10. 8, 6, 10, you should not list. Don't list it. And then 5, 12, 13, huh? Very nice. Sorry. 5, 12, 13. So on and so forth. Okay, you got it, right? So you order them in accordance with the hypotenuse. 8, 6, and 10 should not be shown. Why not 8, 6? Yeah, smallest hypotenuse first. Yeah, let's put it that way. When you think of the ordering, think of the smallest hypotenuse first, and you keep going. Do you understand? You all understood, right? This ordering business of triplets. Okay, good. Okay, so now we have more cool ideas to discuss today. Let's get going. You will see what cool ideas we are going to discuss. Great. So the first thing that I would like you to look at is, we looked at this code. Let's look at abs.c code again. This is the code that we have seen. If a is greater than or equal to 0, so we are using a relational operator. We are using a relational operator. So a greater than or equal to 0, it is called as a relational operator. When this expression is evaluated, there are two possibilities. So in digital systems course, you already learned logical true and logical false, right? Yeah, so DSM course, logical true, Boolean false. So this a greater than or equal to, not yet. Okay, no problem. It doesn't matter. So don't worry about it. So if a greater than or equal to 0, then there are two possibilities. Either it is true or it is false. So in C programming language, in some programming languages, there is a data type called as Boolean, but in C we don't have such a thing called as Boolean. So a true is represented either as 1 or any non-zero value. It can be negative also, or any non-zero. Any non-zero value is treated as a true, and false is 0. False has only one representation, but a true can be represented using 1 or any non-zero value. And this is what is called as a Boolean expression. Boolean expression, an expression which returns a true or false value. Apparently in ANSI C, when you do this a greater than or equal to 0 business, when if it is true, it returns 1. It doesn't return any arbitrary non-zero value, but we don't assume that it, we just think that it returns some non-zero value. Boolean means true or false. Yeah. Great. So here in the if statement, there is a relational, there is a Boolean expression with the relational operator. Boolean data, so an integer holds integers, okay, so integer values. So we don't have Boolean data type in by default, but there are some programming languages, which have this thing called as bool type. It says bool, so bool flag we can use. std bool.h, I don't want to bring it, but it is not what is called as a primitive data type. Okay, let's focus on yeah. So there are no bool data types at this point. At this point in time, there are no bool data types, Boolean data types in C. So non-zero values are true, and false is represented as 0. Yes, are you with me here? Because we are going to use this idea further. So I want to introduce this idea of a loop. So I want to, we would like to write a loop. We would like to write a loop, while.c. I'm trying to introduce a while loop, hash include stdio.h. The purpose of this, actually, there is this question about writing comments. I'm setting a bad example for all of you by not writing comments, but it's good to write comments in the program. So yeah. So we have main. So void main. So we want to write, we are learning C Sarthak. No, not even anything in C++. We are not touching anything in C++. C. So main, yeah. So what do we want to do? We want to write a program. We want to write a program to print the first 10 numbers. To print the first 10 numbers. And the syntax for the while statement is as follows. While statement is a control statement, and you can see this statement here. Just focus. So when the control hits here, what happens is this expression here is a Boolean expression. It will be evaluated, and if it turns out to be true, if it turns out to be true, then we execute the statement. Otherwise, we come, and after we execute the statement, we come to the beginning of the while statement again. In terms of no flowchart representation for this while statement, we come here, this expression, it's a Boolean expression. This is a Boolean, EXPR. We evaluate this Boolean expression. An example of this is something like, x greater than or equal to 0. So there are two possibilities, after this, let's say there is some print statement. For the sake of simplicity, let's say there is some print statement after the while statement. So what happens is, if this statement is true, then whatever the statement that is body of the, whatever that is present in the body while body, this is what is called as a body of the while loop. So let's call it as while body as a shorthand. And after this, the whole body of the while loop gets executed, and we go back again. But on the flip side, if this expression evaluates to false, if this expression evaluates to false, then whatever the print statement or whatever the statements that are after the while loop gets executed. Does this flowchart make sense? You evaluate the expression. If it is true, you execute the statements in the while loop, and then you go back and again evaluate the expression, and you keep repeating this. This is what happens as long as the expression is true. And if the expression is false, we come out of the loop and execute the print statement. Does this make sense? Now keep this in mind, keep this picture in mind, and we will write a small program using while loop. So this is what we want to, our goal is to print first n numbers. So we will declare a variable n, and we will say, so we want to read the input, we say enter n, and then we want to, this is where the actual reading is happening. Great. And so what do we do? So here is what we do. We use a variable. Okay, int. So I want to use a variable. This I is what is called as a, we use the variable I. This is the first time we are using a variable which is not holding input or output. It is holding a value which is required to carry out the execution of the program logic. So what we do is we start with initial value of I as 1, and so while I less than or equal to n, you continue to run this loop, and after so after we print, so this is what we are trying to do. Okay, thank you. This is a very simple program, super simple program, but it illustrates how a while loop works. This is just, I want to, let's not even worry about it. Let's just do this, just a character. So what should I do? So what will happen if I run this program? Thank you, Ashmit. What will happen if I run this program? We run into infinite loop. I will be equal to 1, you keep looping, and the value of I is never going to change. The value of I is never going to change. So you come the first iteration. What will be the value of the loop in the first iteration? In the second iteration of the loop, what will be the value? It's the same one. It's not 2, it's the same one. So we have to fix this problem, and the way we are going to fix this problem is I is equal to I plus 1. And in C++ and in C, we can write this statement I is equal to I plus 1 in couple of variant ways. One variant is plus plus I, or I plus plus. We will see the differences, or I plus is equal to 1. So this is what is called as syntactic sugar. Syntactic. So all these, these are all semantically the same. It's just syntactic sugar. So now let's run this pro. So don't worry about 16 and 17. For our purposes, 16 and 17 are the same. They increment the value of 5. All the statements 16, 17, 18, they increment the value of 5. Should we add 1 before printf? No, we want to print from 1 to n. So if you should not do, Vinkesh. So let's run this program. Where did I store this program? Yeah, so GCC I is equal to I plus 1. No? So don't worry about line 16 to 18. We are just I is equal to I plus 1. So what happens in the memory, if I is equal to 1, so remember, how do you want to understand this statement? I equal to I plus 1. What is this I? Is it a read or write? It's a read. And here it is a write. So whatever the value that is present in the memory location associated with I, you read. Let's say if I is equal to 2, then 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. And the 3, the value, this is what is called as an expression tree. If you use different color, so I is equal to 2, this is 1, 2 plus 1 is 3, and 3 is copied or written into the memory location associated with the variable I. Seven, 10, 7, what, there's nothing there. No? In 7, we are, this is just like nicely printing the output. Let's run this program and then I will answer your questions. Let's take it slow. Let's run this program first. Okay, clear all. So GCC while.c dot a dot out, and it says, so Pranjali asked the question, what is the significance of line 7? Line 7 just prompts this is when you write programs, we should be user friendly, right? So we ask the user, hey, please enter a value of n. And then let's say I entered n, then so we are printing, yeah, this is not nice. Let me put here, I'll compile the program again. See this, so what we are just printing this output in a nice way. This the significance of line 10 is just that we are just printing, these are all just characters. Whatever the characters you want to print, you just put it in the printf statement. Same is the case with line 20. Line 20 is decoration purpose, exactly. It's for decoration purpose. And then line 14, yeah, same line 14, we are, all these are printf statements. Okay. Are you all with me on this program? So do you want, let's do a GDB of this program. Yeah, you can use loops in your assignment 1. You can use loops. Don't worry. Okay, so let's do this. GCC. We will use GDB. GCC minus G. Yeah, let me. Okay, GCC minus G, while dot C, GDB A dot out. Okay, so now I am putting a breakpoint on line number 12. Okay, breakpoint on. I don't need to use full break. I will just use B12. So as a breakpoint on line number 12 is kept. Run the program to enter 5. Yes, till the time the condition of the while loop is satisfied. So enter n. So now, what will be the value of the variable n? If I do print n. So first of all, where is the control now? Control is on which line? Line 12. Control is on line 12. I want all of you to pay attention. Okay, we'll understand this together. It's easy. The control is on line 12. It's not yet executed. And so if I print n is equal to 5, that is the input I gave. And what is if I do print I, what do I get? I is 1. So now we are executing the Boolean expression on line 12, and because I am giving the condition, this next, is I less than or equal to n? Yes, right? So since I is less than equal to n, the control transferred to line number 14. On line number 14, we are executing the print statement. So you can see 1 got printed. So those of you who missed it, so this 1 got printed. The output of the program and GDB are getting interspersed. So because of that, you may get confused. But otherwise, 1 got printed on the screen. Okay, 1 got printed. The first output got printed on the screen. So after printf, you do, yeah. So now we are about to execute line 15. So what is the current value of I? I contains 1, and after line 15 gets executed, so the value of I will be to print I. If you see, the value of I is equal to 2. And after line 15 got executed, which is the last line of the while statement, because 16, 17, and 18 are just comments, you go back to the beginning of the while statement and you reevaluate the condition, whether I is less than or equal to true. And it turns out that I is equal to, it's a valid, I is true. Next. Yeah, we go to line 12. No? We went to line 12 and we executed line 12. And then since 2 is less than 5, we go to line 14. All right. And then I is equal to I plus 1. So what is the current value of I? Print I. The current value of I is equal to 3. Let me try one thing. Set I is equal to 6. Okay. set var okay, I don't want to confuse you. I was just being lazy to run the, yeah. So what I'm trying to do, I'll just tell you. Where are we right now? Can you tell me? On which line we are? We are on line 12. Huh? Okay. So we are on line 12 and the value of I is 3. So after that we execute line 14 and then so I was kind of lazy to iterate through this program. So I thought I will artificially set the value of I to 5 through GDB. And it is possible to do, but no, I couldn't figure out the exact command. So anyway, so let's get going. So we are continuing. And what is the current value of I? Yeah. So current value of I is 5. So let's continue. Yeah. So now pay attention, all of you. I looked at it, Abhinav. So I got some command, but it's not working. It's anyway. Other students may get confused. Okay. So print I. So the value of I is equal to 6. Now whether line 12 gets executed, when line 12 gets executed, what will be the value, Boolean expression value? Is it true or false? It is false. So since it is false, we come out of the loop. And the next statement after the while statement is printf, and it gets executed. And that's it. Are you all with me on the while loop? You can use this while loop in your programs. Okay. So in the assignment 1, feel free to use a while loop to solve the problem. If I put a break on line 12, the program stops before executing line 12. Yeah. Program stops executing before. If you run it against n is equal to 0, yeah. So Suyesh has a good question. Suyash, sorry. So let's run this program again. Okay, I want to run it from the beginning. So now I'm entering 0. So if I enter 0, what happens? What is the value of n? Value of n is 0. And the value of I is equal to 1. When the condition on line 12 is executed, will it turn out to be true or false? Yeah, it will turn out to be false. So the body of the loop will not be executed at all. And we go directly to statement 20, and the printf there gets executed, and we are out. Nice. The last printf got executed now, Aryan. If you see line number 20 here, this output got printed. If n is equal to 1, then what happens? The loop gets executed by for once. Okay, so let's run the program. Run the program and entering value of n. So will the condition be true or false? It will be true. And so printf statement gets executed. You come out. Now the value of I is equal to 2. And since I is equal to 2, you come, and then when you say next, you come out of the while loop and you execute the printf statement, and that's it. So Aman, I will take that question later. Okay, good question, but I will answer that question later. good. So technically speaking, like there is this one particular program that we have written, absgoto.c. So here we have written an infinite loop. So in order to write this, how we can write an infinite loop, you will see. So here we don't, yeah, so Pradham got it. So what we have to do is, we have to write, so something like while true, we need to have a Boolean expression, which is all the time true. So what happens is the body gets executed all the time. Okay, so this is not properly formatted. So format a document. Yeah. So use this feature. I want all of you to use this feature, and you select everything. And when you say format document, then the whole code gets nicely indented. So you can see now we have this this main function, and within the main function, you have this while statement. And within the while statement, you have a printf statement, scanf statement, and then if statement followed by another printf statement. And there is nothing like true. You can see that it is showing an error because true is not part of the C language. So we put while one. Okay, so this is an infinite loop. One represents true all the time. One for unity. Okay, so one truth. While 7 also works, Anika. But are you with me on this code? Now, you saw one fantastic idea in a very kind of without no big fanfare. That is, you are seeing an if statement within a while statement. Okay, you are seeing an if statement within a while statement. So a while is a compound statement, and and then within that you can have if statement. Within an if statement, you can have a while statement. So you wrote a very complex program in this one now, having an if statement within a while statement. And this is what you may want to do in your what is this Pythagorean triplets? When you kind of go through different different 3 pairs, you want to check, which one you want to check whether it's a triplet or not, Pythagorean triplet or not. Or you are with me on this code? How to format document? So you can just select everything and you just right click, you get format document with option. Yeah, so or even I think you can get something view, go run. Some place it is there. But otherwise, simple thing is right click, select everything, right click, and get it. So Rohan, when we put n is equal to 0 in this code, because where is this code? Yeah, because it is before, it is independent of the first line 10, line 20, they are not part of while. They get printed all the time. So Gaurav, you put a negative number there and see what happens. Will it work or not? What happens if we give n as a negative number? Yeah, it's same as 0, right? So yeah, good. What is formatting a document? Huh? Yeah, it is like, when you write the code, so if you see beginners programs, I will tell you, if you see many new programmers or even experienced people who write many years of code, but so everything will be like this. No, There is no indentation. This is everything will be in one line. While this is technically true, correct program, what happens is, yeah, so you don't understand the structure of the program. It will all be messy. So most important thing for all of you is you write your code with proper indentation. With proper indentation. If your code is not properly indented, it's not. You cannot read that code. Like this code, you can see there's this. It's all confusing, right? Whether you don't know whether if is part of while or if is a statement by itself. But on the contrary, I choose everything and I right click and then what happened? Oh, this is not a C pro. Yeah, so if you right click, you get format option and the whole code will be nicely indented. So indent your code. When you submit your code should be beautiful. Okay, even if you don't write comments, it should be beautifully indented. All right. Can you play it is an infinite loop? What do you? So let's run this program ABS while and see what happens. So GCC ABS while.c .a.out. Okay, so 10 minus 10, 20, so on and so forth. It just keeps going. No surprise. Because line number 7, the Boolean expression in line number 7 is a tautology. It's all the time true. Control C. Control C in Linux, it kills a program in infinite loop. Sometimes when you get frustrated, you close the terminal. Kill the terminal. That's different, Pradham. That is, break statement is different from killing a program from outside. Do you want to see one fun program which hogs the CPU? Super fun, but it's just 3 lines. Let's say Control S CPU hog.c hash include So when you run this program, what happens? So I have multiple screens here. I'm using this screen. So see htop. My machine, for some reason, my machine has 12 cores and Zoom is keeping many of the cores busy. But overall, you see, there is no processor. There are 12 cores. No core is completely busy. The 20 to 30% of the around 25% of the each core is occupied. 75% of the time it is the cores are idle. Are you all with me here? That my machine has 12 cores. Htop. My machine has 12 cores. And all the 12 cores, they are doing some stuff, but they are around 25% busy. Htop is a command. Let me run the command again. Control L. You just do htop. So what is a core? So if you go And every, if you, all your machines, they will have a processor, but your processor has multiple compute components. Like when we say a machine is quad core, then that means, so it has 4 cores in it. Okay, quad core means it has 4 cores. And 4 threads can execute in parallel. 1 thread here, 1 thread here. And there is what is called as a hyper-threading. And because of hyper-threading, 1 core will look like 2 cores. This is due to hyper-threading. So really speaking, my machine has 6 cores, but because of what is called as a hyper-threading, it looks as if I have 12 cores. Are you with me? Approximately, you got it? Can you tell how many cores you have on your machine? Or does it include hyper-threading or with or without hyper? 8 CPU cores and tell, 8 threads, 16. 16 with hyper, that's the right way to tell. Aryan's 4 cores, 6. 10 core, no hyper threading. Kabir, 10 core, what processor you have, Kabir? M1. M1 Pro, okay. Okay, anyway, you just follow along with me. You figure these things out later. You just follow along with me. So now I'm going to run my program, the CPU hog program, gcc CPU hog.c. So now I'm running, okay, a.out. So now you can see there is, there is one CPU which became 100%. And then again, are you able to see what is happening? That sometimes the machine, it is going 100% usage, one of the cores. And it keeps changing. My program keeps, for some time it executes on one core, for some other time it executes on some other core. So because of that, what happens is the core which it is occupying, that is what is called as due to scheduling, something happens in the operating system. So the operating system keeps scheduling your program on different cores. So because of that, it is, you can see one core or other is getting hogged. Are you able to see? Are you, mine have, I have 6 cores and 12 with hyper threading, it is 12. If you are not able to see, I will make it more fun and see. I am running one more instance of my program. Now pay attention, guys. Just follow what I am doing first. Okay. Right now you will see there is one core which is kind of busy, and that busy core is kind of changing between 1 to 12. Are you all with me there? Okay. So now, I am running a second instance of my program, a.out. So now after I run second instance of my program, you can see now there are 2 cores which are 100% busy. Yes or no? 7 and 9 cores, 7 and 9. Okay. So now let's try to run one more program. Now you will see there are 3 cores that are busy. Yes or no? Happy? There are 3 cores. 7, 8, 9, they are busy. Yeah, and then now let me run one more. After some time, what happens is, there are my 4 cores are busy. If I run 2 more instances, the Zoom program becomes too slow, and my machine may crash, and this session may end. Last year we did this experiment on crashing my machine live. So do it at 12. Do it at 12:59. Yeah, so so that's yeah, and actually, I am able to hear my CPU making noise because the fan started. Someone asked, "No, isn't your CPU getting heated?" Now the fan on my CPU got activated and it is making noise. Okay, so cool. I'm enjoying. Uh, shall we conclude today's class early? Saturday, no? What do you say? By crashing my computer. But I don't know whether, it will recording what happens to the recording of the lecture. Okay, let's try. It will go slow, but it may not crash, but let's try. Okay, then let me, yeah, I want to stop recording because